Hi, I'm Frank. This is my last assignment. Firstly, during this term studies of responsible business professionalism, I have gained a deeper understanding of frameworks and concepts such as ICs and DGs and even feedback approaches and so on. But there are also certain times that I feel discomfort. I remember when I wrote the second assignment in the part 2, I needed to use the pastel framework to analyze the Coca-Cola packaging issues. So to be honest, I had already used the pastel framework in the past, but it was aimed to analyze the specific corporate external environment. But in this case, I need to analyze this specific issue about Coca-Cola package. So this different situation let me get trapped into confusion and delays. I don't know pastel framework meaning and purpose in this part, but after that, I asked my tutor a lot and researched some pastel framework applied in reality. I gradually understood pastel analysis not only used for corporate external environment analysis, but also could identify the external factors which influence the corporate decision making and the external risk faced. So I reflect that although this experience makes me feel uncomfortable and struggle, I learned some framework like pastel framework, not just like box ticking exercise. Only I can understand the real meaning behind the theory of all framework. I can make the most of them in the future. And during this semester, when I learned bias in week 3, I remember in lab session, I do the decision-making style inventory. The consequence demonstrates my decision-making style is analytical. To be honest, I initially thought it was a good thing because this data represents I am a rational, data-driven, and trustworthy problem solver who is a perfect person in my mind. However, unexpectedly during Lip's lecture, Peters outlined various cognitive biases alongside concrete examples. Then during the discussion session, my group member and I both arrived at the same conclusion. We are both analytic decision making. However, we discovered that we share common biases, especially information and some cost bias. I suddenly realized that this is precisely the problem I frequently encounter. For example, I often thought my research and understand which is not enough to let me begin, and once I embark upon formal writing, I'm reluctant to rewrite even when I later realize the direction is flawed, which leads to the problem of receiving low marks. This discovery has suddenly made my decision-making style far clearer to me. I have realized that even what I considered a perfect style has a limitation and inevitably face various biases. For instance, being overly data-driven easily leads to me into uncorny bias. Thus, this is the first time I have realized that my decision-making style is something I must manage myself rather than relying on it. So a moment where I felt motivated to act differently is when I first learned ESG report and modern slavery. I remember it's in week 7. To be honest, I have never heard of it in the 7th week before. I was utterly shocked when I mentioned that a third of modern slavery worldwide actually occurs within the supply chain of major brands I know very well, such as H&M and Apple, something else. So moreover, I realized that my silence and continued consumption may be interpreted as a tacit approval. So to be honest, I feel a little bit ashamed of myself because I always thought try to get more money or do benefits for my corporate is priority in my mind, and for something like morning slavery, someone will always take a charge, someone will always care. However, this ethical issue has been expanded because so many people might have a similar perspective like me. So week 7 let me know responsible professionalism for me, not just become a good person who follows the rules, but rules might not be enough. So I should be braver to express my position and make choice when I faced with moral diagrams or even moral issues. So in the future, my purpose is to be willing to make voice when I face an ethical situation.